If your first instinct at a packed party is to calculate the fastest route to the exit, you're not broken. You're not antisocial. You might just be responding to something your inner child learned a long time ago in a room that had nothing to do with parties at all. Picture this. Your phone buzzes. Hey, we're all meeting downtown. It's going to be packed, but the vibe is amazing. And before you've even read the whole message, your body has already decided. Not maybe. Not let me think about it. A flat, immediate no, coming from somewhere deeper than logic. Most people assume that reaction is about the party. It rarely is. More often, it's your inner child recognizing a pattern it learned to fear long before you ever RSVP'd to anything. Here's what almost nobody explains about crowd aversion. It isn't really a social preference. It's a nervous system response, and nervous systems are built in childhood. If you grew up in a home where you had to constantly monitor a room, a parent's mood, a sibling's volatility, an atmosphere that could shift without warning, your brain didn't file that away as a bad memory. It filed it as a survival skill. Scan the room, read every face, detect the shift before it happens. That skill kept a smaller, more vulnerable version of you safe. The problem is, it never clocked out. It just changed its uniform and followed you into adulthood, where it now activates in rooms that are actually harmless. That's why a crowded space can feel unbearable even when nothing is objectively wrong. Your adult brain knows it's just a bar, a concert, a networking event. But your inner child doesn't process objectively fine. It processes too many variables I can't control, and that's the exact sentence that used to precede real danger. This is why so many people who hate crowds also happen to be the ones who, as kids, had to grow up fast. Think about it. A child who had to monitor a parent's emotional state develops an incredibly sensitive threat detection system because their safety depended on catching warning signs early. Take that same wiring and put it in a room with 200 strangers, inconsistent noise, unpredictable movement, and no way to track every variable at once. And it's not anxiety. It's overload. Your inner child is trying to run the same protective algorithm it always has, except now there are 200 people to monitor instead of one parent, and the algorithm was never built to scale. There's a reason this shows up specifically as exhaustion rather than just discomfort. When your inner child is doing this scanning work, it's not passive. It's active labor, constant, high-effort attention that most people around you aren't spending. Because most people around you didn't need to learn this skill at age 7. So when everyone else leaves the party mildly tired, you leave it depleted, sometimes for days, because you weren't just attending a party. You were running a full-time security operation your inner child assigned itself without asking your permission. Let's go deeper into what that operation actually looks like, because it's more specific than just being alert. Your inner child, in a crowded room, is doing several jobs at once. It's tracking tone of voice for signs of anger. It's watching body language for signs someone's about to turn on you, even though statistically nobody in that room has any intention of doing so. It's listening for the kind of silence that used to mean something bad was coming. None of this is happening because you're paranoid. It's happening because somewhere along the way, silence, tone, and sudden movement were genuinely predictive of danger, and your nervous system learned that lesson so well it never bothered to update the file. This is also why crowded places feel different depending on who's in them. A packed stadium during a game you love might feel exhilarating. A packed room at a work function might feel unbearable within 10 minutes. That's not inconsistency, and it's not you being difficult. Your inner child isn't afraid of crowds in the abstract. It's afraid of unpredictability without an exit, of not knowing who's safe and who isn't, of being read as one of many faces instead of seen as a specific person. A stadium full of strangers cheering for the same thing feels unified and safe. A room full of strangers making small talk, sizing each other up, performing versions of themselves, that's a different kind of chaos entirely, and it's the kind your inner child was trained to fear most. Here's the part that reframes everything. This isn't a flaw in you. It's evidence of an old adaptation, one that made complete sense given what your inner child was working with. The child who learned to read a room wasn't weak. They were resourceful. They figured out how to stay safe in an environment that didn't offer much safety to begin with. That skill wasn't a malfunction. It was intelligence, deployed exactly where it was needed, at an age when nothing else was available to protect them. And this is where most people get stuck, because they try to fix the crowd aversion directly. They force themselves into more parties, more events, more forced exposure, hoping that repetition alone will override the fear. Sometimes it helps a little, but often it doesn't, because you're not actually treating the fear of crowds. You're trying to override a child's protective instinct with an adult's willpower, and willpower was never the thing that was missing. What was missing was reassurance. What was missing was someone, and even you, telling that part of you the truth. The danger you're still scanning for already passed. It's not in this room. So when you feel that pull to avoid the crowded room, the loud event, the space with too many unpredictable people, that's not your adult self being difficult. That's your inner child, still standing guard, still trying to keep you safe using the only tool it was ever given. And the goal isn't to force that part of you to stand down through willpower. It's to actually go back and tell it something it never got to hear. You don't have to scan the room anymore. I've got this now. You can rest. That message doesn't land in one sitting. It lands slowly, through small moments of proving to yourself that a room can be unpredictable and you can still be okay. Through noticing when the hypervigilance kicks in and naming it for what it is, not "I'm antisocial," but "my inner child just clocked in for a shift nobody's asking them to work anymore." Through choosing sometimes to stay in the uncomfortable room a little longer, not to punish yourself, but to show that old part of you real current evidence that the danger it's braced for isn't actually there. It also helps to notice what happens in your body right before you want to leave. Usually there's a tightening, a shift in breathing, a sudden urge to check your phone or find the nearest exit. That's not random. That's your inner child sending a signal the only way it knows how, through your body, because it never had words for what it was feeling in the first place. When you catch that signal and respond to it with curiosity instead of frustration, when you ask, "What am I actually reacting to right now?" instead of just "What's wrong with me?" you start giving that part of you something it almost never got as a child: attention without judgment. Over time, this is how the pattern actually shifts. Not through forcing yourself to enjoy crowds you don't enjoy, and not through avoiding every room that makes you uncomfortable either. It shifts through slowly teaching your nervous system that discomfort doesn't automatically mean danger, and that you, the adult, are actually paying attention now, so your inner child doesn't have to do it alone anymore. So the next time someone asks why you'd rather skip the party, you don't owe them an explanation about personality types. The real answer is quieter than that. You're not avoiding people. You're still, in some small and old part of you, trying to keep a child safe who never got to stop watching the door. And maybe the healing isn't learning to love crowds. Maybe it's finally being able to tell that child, "I'm the adult in the room now. You don't have to do this job anymore. You can just be here.